Hey, what is going on, everybody out there? This is Jakejames Lugo. Welcome to the channel and welcome to a brand new episode of Definitive Discussion, where I bring on phenomenal individuals from all over the place to talk about a variety of different gaming-related topics and other cool, interesting stuff that you guys want to hear about. If you guys haven't already yet, please check out my episode that I had Dreamcast guy on the show. We talked all about Sega. It was an awesome retro discussion that I'm pretty sure a lot of you Sega heads out there are going to really enjoy. But today, we're talking about some serious stuff. We're talking about some gaming stuff, specifically women in gaming. So obviously, I had to go get a guest that was willing not only to have the conversation, but also who's a pretty cool person too. So I decided to get SupaNintendoGirl to come join me on the show to be my special guest. Pixel Girl. I'm going to just short it to Pixel Girl because SupaNintendoGirl is like too much of a tongue twister. So, but welcome to the show. Thank you for chatting up with me. What's good? How you been?
Really good. I'm so happy to be on this podcast with you. It's very exciting. Thank you for having me.
That's what I'm talking about. We got exciting shows. We got exciting stuff. We got exciting guests, which is cool. So I brought you on the show because obviously, one, you were the only person that I know of that had the fortitude to have a discussion like this with me, which I think is cool. But also, I feel like, we could get some of your perspective on this, and I think it's important to have that. Granted, we're gonna talk about women in gaming. That's really like the umbrella of everything we're kind of going to discuss in this episode. So I do have to preface this for everybody listening right now. Obviously, I am a guy. I understand there comes a certain type of mentality and perspective with all this stuff. As you know, we were talking before the podcast started, but it's just like, I feel like there's certain things that should be discussed, should be observed, and it should be conversated about these types of topics, from all types of perspectives, not just one lens. So I figured, it'd be great to have you on to at least talk about it. I mean, so to kick things off, what is the first thing that really comes to mind now these days for you when you hear the phrase women in gaming?
Honestly, controversy is a word that comes up. Sexism is a term that comes up. It's usually not a positive. I don't get a positive vibe from it when I hear it, unfortunately, which is sad to say since I am a woman in gaming.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, it's just a really negative thing these days. And yeah, it makes me really sad.
And you're right. I was going to say that kind of
sucks.
sucks because obviously negativity is bad, but I don't think the discussion or just the topic of women in gaming is inherently a bad thing. I think that there's a lot of different stuff that's been kind of thrown into the mix that's kind of associated it with something really bad. And I think obviously social media has played a big part in that and stuff. But overall, besides all the negative and crazy stuff, what is really, the phrase or just women in gaming, what does that really mean to you? Obviously, besides being a woman who happens to love video games.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's bitchin', man. It's awesome. I love females in gaming. It's important. It's just important to have another voice out there. I just feel like oftentimes, at least content creators, it's often white males. And I think that there should be more different voices out there. And women are a minority in gaming, sure. But that's even more why we should have more women in gaming and have their voices be heard. But even talking like this and saying things like, I don't know, just in my experience talking about, women being empowered or just using words like that or white male privilege is very triggering for some people. And so it is really hard to walk the line of, putting my voice out there and being an advocate for women and not getting people really pissed off.
So let me ask you this. Let's unpack that for a second, because I think that's really the crux of a lot of stuff when it comes to these types of discussions, or just the observation of the topic. Because obviously we're living in a time, obviously, of the Me Too movement, which is impacting Hollywood, it's impacting entertainment and stuff. We're looking at, obviously, women in tech is becoming a big thing, obviously, throughout the years. I would say close to around over the decade, probably even further than that. But what do you think the viciousness, specifically for gaming comes from? Because as someone that's a man, who, again, has a different perspective in this type of stuff, which won't ever fully understand what it's like to be a woman in any sort of industry, because obviously I am a guy. But I think that there is certain things that are relatable, that, stuff that both genders or both sexes or whatever you want to call it, or whatever type of groupings you want to put with these types of topics, there are things that everybody could universally agree upon. And I feel like there's common ground there. But there's a lot of, animosity for some odd reason, whether it's because a certain side trying to be heard or certain people trying to put their agendas out there or whatever have you. Where do you think the actual, the viciousness and that animosity really comes from?
It's such a good question. I think most of the animosity comes from like female content creators who, you hear like titty streamers or boob YouTubers. I think that a lot of men and women get upset when a woman wants to feel sexy and do gaming because suddenly they're fake or they're not authentic or they really don't like video games or they're just trying to get donations. They're just trying to get money, things like that. And I think that's been one huge part. But if I zoom out and just talk about gaming, I've never really understood why there is sexism in gaming because all you're doing is like sitting on your butt and playing a game. Not to say that a more physical job like chopping wood, like women can do that too. Women can be super strong. There's women in the military, but it's like, why gaming? It's like literally all you do is sit on your butt. I just don't understand how. Yeah. I just don't understand that like, whole idea.
Here's the thing about this that I think it's kind of important and stuff. I feel like that usually just comes from internet culture. Like obviously it's a big thing. There's certain women out there that have gotten some serious harassment and serious bullying on social media on various different platforms. Like you can't deny that. It's happened. It's documented and stuff. But I think like the whole idea of this subculture from gaming or just nerd culture or whatever else, this whole idea about throwing these types of terms like you mentioned, titty streamers, booby streamers, cam girls, etc. I feel like that just comes from internet culture from a select group of people that are just trying to be jerks to everybody, not specifically just to women. Because I feel like when it gets reported on a lot, in various different websites, because like either they're trying to be good with the audience or a certain section of the audience, they kind of cater to this one type of narrative where it's like, oh, it's men such and such being vicious to female gamers because they don't want them to be part of the culture stuff. And I don't really think it's completely that. Like, I think you have those extremes and you have those terrible people, but I think it's just this one subset of groups of people that are either trying to be trolls or just trying to be jerks to everybody, because there's also even a larger group of people out there that probably silent most of the time, probably don't even talk a lot on social media.
That's the problem though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Like, so you're right. There's a subset of trolls and I get a ton of comments from them all the time. They're loud. So you're right. You hear them. They are the ones that you hear the most. Right. But also there's a lot of even content creators that are, they totally welcome women in gaming. They're not, they're not outrightly sexist. They're not sexist at all, but they won't necessarily speak up about these issues or they won't necessarily be an ally. For instance, with the whole ninja situation. And I know there's a lot of different opinions on that.
There was a lot of stuff that happened.
It was. Yeah. And I mean, I just felt like, and I have it's kind of cute. I have this Twitter group with Pushing Up Roses, Kinsey, Burke, and Pam Cannot Be Tamed. We're all YouTube content creators. And we just kind of talk about the experiences we have as women in gaming. And one of the things we talked about was how we wish some of the bigger male creators would come out and say, you know what, I do play with, my female colleagues and just, I don't know, just have more thoughts on it than being completely silent. So it's not necessarily bad that they're silent, but sometimes it's hard. It's like you either get the really loud trolls or you're going to get people who are completely silent and don't want to talk about it at all because it's so, I don't know, like edgy or controversial. So
You know what I think it is also, and I think it's a way or something that specifically the gaming industry or the gaming culture, within entertainment that makes us a little bit different than a lot of other forms of entertainment like music and stuff, is that we haven't really found out a way to kind of like universally deal with that, or at least be okay, or at least acknowledge certain stuff. And the easiest comparison that I could, make to this, and I find a lot of parallels between the two industries, is the music industry. Because if you look at the ninja situation, he's so worried about the perception of just, playing a game together with someone other than his wife and stuff. You look at the music industry, there are guys that have music videos and have other stuff that they work together with other females that might not be their wives, or even just other ladies that might not be their partners and stuff, and they have no problem whatsoever. And like obviously that talk is going to be there, and if anything, in that case with Ninja, he kind of made it worse bringing it up and drawing attention to it. But I think he made more of a big deal about it than what it actually could have been. And I feel like because of that, and because obviously the silence of other creators and other creators also not being willing to set a better example or a different example, that it makes this into a problem for us specifically in gaming. But no other industry really has that same issue. Again, music, movies doesn't really have that. You could even argue like news and daytime TV. I mean, there's a lot of parallels there. I mean, am I wrong here?
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of parallels. At the end of the day, it is an entertainment industry as well, and he has a huge platform, and with that comes great responsibility. The thing that, again, we were talking about how, or at least I think gaming culture, the lens that we view it from in terms of the industry is from like a white male perspective, and even with just Ninja's statement, it was very like heteronormative.
I thought it was really whack. I mean, but that's just my personal opinion. I don't understand the situation, but I get the optics of it for some people saying like, oh, this doesn't help female streamers because you're the biggest one out here. I mean, you could big up anybody you want to big up. But this just sets a certain precedent that maybe might not be so good.
Yeah, it just wasn't handled well. I mean, I understand he wants to protect his wife and things, and that's admirable. But it's just like, it's coming from such a lens of straight white male. Like, what about if he does a stream with someone who's homosexual? What if he does, like, does this take out trans people too? Like, it just seemed very narrow-minded in a way, but I mean, that's just the lens that he's coming from. So I'm trying to be understanding of it. It's just overall, it seems like nobody in this industry, or at least in my community, really wants to even talk about the Ninja situation publicly because it is, you know,
afraid of backlash, basically.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So let me ask you this then, because you bring up understanding. I think this is a perfect segue. You know, when it comes to discussions about women's roles in gaming, you know, I'm not talking about specifically characters in games and stuff. I'm talking about the personalities, the individuals, the media people and stuff. Do you feel like, you know, a lot of what's been going on now over the last couple of years has really, that conversation has been dominated by people that just seem to be more kind of like on the attack rather than just trying to bring like a balance to everything? Because I feel like, you know, if you look at the term feminism, I actually wrote about this on the Coalition not too long ago. Feminism in of itself as a philosophy isn't a bad thing for any industry, especially for gaming. I think that equality for everybody is a great thing. Equality of opportunity, equality of role, equality of all different types of stuff. I think that's great, you know, between balance between the genders. However, I feel like, you know, the real reason why it's been so demonized and been so made to look toxic for a lot of people, specifically in gaming, is because of the voices that are trying to perpetuate it in a way that it's not really what it is. Like, I mean, what do you think about like a lot of those either creators or media personalities and stuff that are just trying to put their stuff out there as opposed to having the real conversation?
I think, are you talking about like Anita Sarkeesian or just like regular?
I think she's one example. I mean, you could say pretty much about anybody. You could say Anita Sarkeesian, Zoe Quinn, Brianna Wu. I would even argue Christina Hoff Sommers, who, in my opinion, if you want to talk about feminism, a lot of people should go read and listen to a lot of stuff that Christina Hoff Sommers has done, because she's talked about feminism and gaming, and she actually takes the opposite perspective from Anita Sarkeesian, where Anita is more about everything is sexist and stuff. She takes it more of the lines as like, listen, there needs to be understanding between the genders, and you can't put down one side in order to big up the other one. It has to be uplifting on both sides. At least that's the perspective she takes. And I find her works a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that I've had this conversation about Anita Sarkeesian with some of my female content creator colleagues, and it seems like men really dislike her a lot. I mean, obviously, they associate
her with feminism mostly. Like, they look at her as like, you know, gaming as that one thing, even though it's more deeper.
Yeah. And I think she's coming from a good place. And the only issue I have with her is that she makes these sweeping statements. And being that I'm a researcher at heart, it's like, you can't just say, because of this video game or because of the way like Princess Peach was portrayed in this video game, this is how women are treated in society.
That's a far reach. Yeah.
It's a far reach, but at the end of the day, like, I still respect what she's doing because she's trying, and she is getting so much shit for it. You kind of have to have some respect that she keeps going. But I do agree that there needs to be more of a conversation happening, because it is a lot. Her message is a lot to take in. And yeah, I don't know. It's just so difficult. It's so difficult. But I do think that conversation needs to happen, and there needs to be more of this type of conversation that we're having between a male gamer and a female gamer in the industry. You know, I think that's so important.
Do you think, though, that the message, you know, whether anything that she's trying to do, or it doesn't even have to be here, you could say the same thing again, like I mentioned, Zoe Quinn, Brianna Wu, or any of the other content creators and other people out there on social media that are part of the gaming industry that might be working in the industry, is it like PR or dev or anything, and they have similar views and stuff. Do you feel like the message that they're really trying to push out there gets lost in translation because of the attacks, because of like the hostility amongst everybody?
100%. That's why I feel like a lot of female gamers, especially big ones, they're guarded which I understand, but it seems like it gets to a point where they're not even really willing. It goes two different ways. It can go, I'm one of the boys' girls, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not like a normal girl. It's like they go that way, and then they really don't want to have anything to do with other girls. And then it can go the other way, which is more like supporting women. But honestly, in my opinion, being in this industry and trying to meet women, it's been hard. Like just recently, I started talking to some girls in the cosplay community because I've been wanting to get into that. And I was floored by how kind and open they were. Like, anyone I talked to in the cosplay community was so kind. And coming from the gaming community, it was like night and day.
Really?
And so, it was. And it's just, it makes me really sad that I feel like women aren't willing to really support each other in the gaming community. And I think a lot of that, if we zoom out, I think a lot of that has to do with the misogyny in the gaming industry and then internalizing it.
Well, here's the thing that I find always weird, and again, I'm coming from a guy's perspective. We're not understanding, being a woman, that part of any industry like that, and seeing things a certain way. I can only go by my own lens and my own perspective and interpret my way. Yeah. My thing is that while I understand there is misogyny out there, I feel like the majority of people that are so rah and against it, that are outspoken about it, are painting, obviously, like you mentioned earlier, these sweeping broad strokes amongst everybody. And I feel like, you don't have to be so vicious to one group of people or another in order to uplift your group. Like, you don't have to be so vicious towards men or people that don't necessarily agree with you in order to uplift women or to support women. I feel like there's a lot more nuance there, and you could support different types of women and disagree with different types of women or different types of men or individuals without being so vicious in the way that I see online. Like, obviously, I'm pretty sure you saw the Jessica Price thing, that, that whole deal with the ArenaNet and everything else that happened on social media. That ended up turning into a discussion about gender when the whole issue was never about gender in the first place. Like, it became a whole other thing. And that's what I feel like really damages and hurts, the conversations that should be taking place amongst all different types of people like that, because then everybody's going to go into it with preconceived notions or be so cautious for fear of, being put on blast like that. And I don't think that people should be put on blast, male or female, depending on what they're saying and stuff.
You're right. Again, it goes back to just gaming and this toxicity around gender, and then it's like things happen and it boils down to that issue because it is such an issue in this community.
Yeah, I got a good question. Like, and this is something I think is actually good to bring up. Do you feel like a lot of women, whether it's, in gaming or just entertainment and stuff, do you feel like now these days a lot of women, in order to show that they're supporting women, have to end up taking that violent type of stance? Well, not violent. I shouldn't say violent. I should say that hostile type of stance and kind of like, attack mode, warrior princess type of thing. And it's kind of messed up to say that. Wonder Woman type of thing, because I know we're going to get this in the comments. They're going to see like, how are you saying warrior princess? But like, you understand what I'm saying? Like that kind of that attack mentality, that fierce type of mentality, as opposed to being more understanding, being more kind of like, I guess you could say diplomatic might be the right word. But do you feel like a lot of women, in order to show that they're supporting other women, have to take that type of stance?
I don't think a lot of women actually do that. I think, of course, in every subset of thoughts, there's going to be people who are a little bit more extreme. I mean, I'm not surprised that some women do take a more princess warrior stance, as we say, because if you enter their shoes, men are also, you could say that men on the other side can be just as extreme and nasty as well. And so I think both sides have that. But I think women in gaming get it the most, where it's like, oh, they're kind of the nasty, like there's this extreme feminist and they're nasty, but it's like, well, they're also on, the other side, there's extreme misogynists who are doing, not helping the conversation either. So I think that's just a part of human nature, really. And most of the women I've actually met, surprisingly, actually are leaning towards more being like, I'm not like other girls, to try to get to separate themselves from that. So I actually haven't met anyone super extreme.
I've met a couple of those extremes out there, or I've seen stuff like on social media. I feel like that's what gets talked about a lot in the media, whether it's one extreme or the other. I feel like whenever there's like a middle ground, or at least, people that are out there commenting on stuff, they either get pushed down or they get muted. And I think that sucks because it happens on both sides. You have the people that are really trying to show that they're feminists, really trying to show that they're supporting women, and they want to shut down men so much, or they want to shut down people that aren't really like 100% down with them. And then obviously on the flip side, you have those men that are either being real jerks or being real trolls and just not being cool overall. Again, the general context thing is they're not helping the greater issue at hand. Do you think also? No, go ahead. I was
gonna say, do you think like people in the middle, like kind of like us, where we're willing to have a conversation? Like, I mean, I'm thinking in my head as I'm saying these things, like, oh, I know I'm going to be upsetting someone or some, some really extreme, like, Anita Sarkeesian stan, and I'm not saying the right things. And so that's kind of where that silence comes in, where it's like people in the middle don't even want to talk.
I think they don't want to deal with it. They just don't want to deal with it. And I've been in that position before in various different points, with the coalition and even on some of my own stuff, because I feel like, sometimes, there's just this open mentality is that if you're not with us, you're against us. And I think that's terrible. Yeah. I think that really sucks. And it doesn't help in any issue, but I think it makes this one a little bit much more worse, especially over the last like 5 to 10 years, because since that's obviously such a big change and something that's a big topic of discussion right now, it could kind of, make someone look like a real terrible person where they're not really like that, or not even saying something that's inherently terrible like that, but still, because the masses see that, all of a sudden everybody gets a mob mentality and ends up doing stuff like that. And I think that sucks. Like, absolutely. Here's the thing. It's funny you bring up the middle type of ground like that, or at least, people that are kind of worried about stuff like that. Because I feel like also when people in the middle, and I say in the middle is the people that aren't falling into one extreme or the other, where they're trying to do stuff, or they're trying to make content, or they're trying to do certain things, and they get shut down by one side or the other. In my personal example, for my own personal experience, I've even tried to invite people like Anita Sarkeesian, like Brianna Wu, like Zoe Quinn onto my shows, whether it was this one or my shows on the coalition, and every single time they would either ignore, or they would just obviously just say no, or just completely just bypass what people like me are out there trying to do. Because again, there's people like me that, besides myself, that are curious about these types of things, but they don't understand it fully, or they have questions about it, and they're just not being answered.
Yeah. And that to me that's the worst thing that can happen, if your job is to try and make people understand, like how women in gaming are treated. You have to like talk to people, you have to share your story. You can't just complain, I guess.
So,
you have to share.
Let me ask you this then. What can be done to make things better overall? Like, obviously, you have a lot of the women out there that are creators, putting out their content and stuff, that are being vocal about these issues, that either they might be complaining, they might be outspoken, whatever it is that they're doing. They're out here being vocal about these issues. But what can be done on all people's sides in order to make this type of topic or this type of subject matter better for everybody in gaming?
I wish I had the magic answer for that. I think it starts with women empowering each other and not seeing each other as competition, or, I'm not like other girls. Like, we should never accept when a man tells us, oh, you're not like other girls. You need to be like, I am like other girls, and the women I'm around are awesome, and we support each other. I think I wish that women in gaming would do that a little bit more. And then I honestly think that would help with the whole other situation of the misogyny, because us women are coming together, and then we can have more conversations, be more open. And so I truly think it starts with women. I think on both sides, not just women, but I think also on both sides, it really comes, could actually start things for the better by not always being so quick to judge by association, or or immediately judge as hostile from the very beginning. Because I feel like, someone like me, I feel like I could have a great conversation with like Anita Sarkeesian. There's a tongue twister there. But Anita really Sarkeesian, or a Brianna Wu, or a Zoe Quinn, or Christina Hoff Summers, or you, or any other big creator out there, or Casey Tron, or any other female content creator that's out there, and have a good conversation, whether it's about stuff like this or gaming. But I feel like that, that immediate kind of notion that like, oh, this, such and such might be hostile from the very get-go, or I shouldn't trust this person like that. I feel like that needs to go, because that won't help the issue. I agree. Yeah, it does need to go. And then also, I think men have to understand that just because a woman who's streaming and is showing cleavage and is getting all sorts of, has all sorts of fans, they need to realize they're not stealing your viewers. Like, the viewers that are watching that are interested in exactly that. And you need to be okay with that. And you need to understand that if she wants to show her body, she's more than welcome to. And that's good on her. And I think women too, a lot of women slut shame as well. And that's another thing in this community. So I feel like men in general need to think about, I don't know, like slut shaming a little bit too, and just understanding that it's okay for women to be sexy and do gaming, because I feel like that's another really big thing in the community that that's controversial, is like these Twitch streamers and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think everybody in the community has work to do.
Yeah, and that's another question I want to ask that I feel like should be discussed. Is like, obviously I'm with you where it comes to like, if a woman wants to show her body more, have at you, do what you want, because it's your body, you can do whatever. I think it's also the same also for men on the same time. I don't think you really see it as much from men, but I can understand, that same level of equality being applied there. What do you think though, or why is it that you feel like, a lot of people, especially women, looking at other women streamers and stuff, feel like they're taking away, or like they're trying to cash in quickly in like the gaming scene by doing stuff like that? Do you feel like, that's a notion that in some instances is true? Like there are people that are like that, but is it really as widespread as like some people really try to make it out to be?
That's a hard question. I think either way, whatever the woman's intention is, it doesn't really impact that person really. So I mean, I see what you're saying, and I have seen Twitch streamers where I'm like, you don't even play games, right? Like I've seen that before.
They're out there. Yeah. And there's obviously those instances like that. But personally, for me, I don't even think it's like, an epidemic on Twitch. Like there are some, like Legendary Leah, I know a lot of people point the finger to, and like Casey Tron's another one, and a few others out there. But I don't think it's like, 100 different lady streamers all doing the exact same thing. Like,
it's just a part of every entertainment industry. Sex sells. And so no matter what industry you're in, you're going to see that. And gaming shouldn't be held to some weird high standard in that. I just think certain people are really sensitive about their games and thinking like, oh, they're tarnishing the community. Well, okay, but you also probably watch porn and all that stuff too, which is fine. But it's like, so it just seems so odd to me. Like, I don't know. I just think the community needs to kind of chill out about that a little bit.
You think that's the industry that's kind of sensitive to that though? Because I feel like that's something that kind of gets brought up a lot, and where a lot of people in all different facets of it are very squeamish about it. Like other entertainment industries, not so much. Like they acknowledge it as like, certain instances you have to acknowledge. But I feel like we're more sensitive because not just of the perception from people outside of the industry, but even within ourselves. I feel like we kind of keep that fuel going, or at least that fire going, and keep it fueled. And it kind of sucks and it's stupid. If anything, it's kind of immature because, we don't really grow beyond that. But I don't think it's as like crazy widespread as like what a lot of people say.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, for me, I like to feel sexy. And if you look at any of my videos, you can see sometimes I'm wearing a sexy top, sometimes I'm wearing a turtleneck. And I can tell you right now that when I'm wearing a turtleneck, I'm a prude, or I get comments like, what the fuck, wear a titty shirt. And then if I even show a little bit of cleavage, suddenly I'm a slut, I'm a cam whore, I'm a fake gamer. There's no pleasing. And so in a way, like I'm not trying to come down on women who are trying to distance themselves from that, because I get it. Like I've had all the hate from just showing my cleavage where I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to wear turtlenecks and I'm not going to show any of my body. Like I've had that thought before, but I was like, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be myself, and this is my body. And if I want to feel sexy one day, I'm going to feel sexy. And yeah, so it's so, I guess what I'm trying to explain is that it is difficult for women in gaming, and I hope that people listening to this, your audience, can maybe feel for us a little bit too.
I think
It's hard.
understanding is the right word.
Yeah.
I think there's obviously an element of empathy there, and even from myself like that. But I think understanding is really the word of the day, in relation to that. Here's one thing I think is a good way that we could wrap this up. I think this is perfect. Okay, 2 or 3 people that you could think of that are women that are do a lot of good for the industry. I could think of 3 for me personally that have inspired me, over throughout the years. Being someone that wants to be a games media person who wants to be involved and do a lot of positive things in the industry. For me, because the reason why I think that's important is because I think that good lessons and good inspiration could come from any side, any facet. That's a very Bruce Lee like approach to stuff. And I feel like for women, some of the stuff that people that have shown me great things that could I could adopt into my own life and my own portfolio, my own style, is like people like Andrea Renee, who's done a lot of stuff with GameSpot, or was it GameStop TV, even Playboy. She's over at What's Good Games. I would say also Morgan Webb, and I think a lot of people, I don't know if you grew up on G4, but like people watched X-Play, and Morgan Webb was that girl that knew a lot about video games, and she was dope as hell. Like, I don't even think there was sexuality, even, part of that, even though I know she did some modeling at some point. And the other one for me, because I relate, because we've actually been in the industry about the same amount of time, Alana Pierce, who was just at IGN. Now she's going over to Funhouse and stuff, who's done a lot of great work and has set a lot of good examples that I've even taken notice of. And I'm pretty sure a lot of other people have. But those are some of the women I feel like have really impacted me in some way. But what about you? Like, can you think of 2 or 3?
Yes. Yeah, I can actually think of 4. I'll be quick. Of course, Pushing Up Roses. She does retro, mostly like computer games, PC games. She is just, it's like action. It's like the action of it. Like, she supports smaller female YouTubers. She followed me when I had like 1,000 subscribers.
That's dope.
Always. Yeah. She's not, there's other female creators her same size that won't give me the time of day. So she really does a lot in terms of her actions. And she also speaks up a lot about mental health awareness. So gotta love her. Another one I think about is Zombie Unicorn. She's a Twitch girl.
She did the Bully Hunters thing a while back. I know. I saw.
Yeah, with H3. Yeah, but I appreciate what she tries to do. She has a lot of like body positivity, and it's okay to be sexy and still love gaming. So I think she does a really nice job. And then quickly, Kinsey Burke from Metal Jesus Rocks is another great one. Also super open to meeting and being friends with women in the community and supporting. And then Cannot Be Tamed again. She does great videos. She has videos about the mean comments she gets in. She's really witty with it, and she's also really great. So you guys got to really check out all those channels. They inspire me.
There you go. There's some good recommendations for you guys listening right now. Super Pixel Girl, thank you for being on the show with me. It's a dope conversation. You see, we need more dope conversations like this one, with more dope people like you, obviously. I'm just saying. Okay, but where can everybody find you right now? Where are you at on social media? What's good?
Yeah, just Supa Pixel Girl on Twitter and Instagram. It's Supa, S-U-P-A, not super. And then Supa, like the Super Mario Super Show.
There you go.
And then you can just type it in on YouTube. You'll find my channel.
Nice. So there'll be links in the description box below, guys, so you guys go directly to all those different spots to check out her content. Follow her on Twitter, obviously, and stuff. Any like specific videos you're working on right now that's new coming down the pipeline?
I'm working on a Bob Ross Mario Paint video. And I have the fro for Bob Ross, and I'm gonna like talk like him, and yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm really excited.
Bob Ross is dope. Those Twitch numbers were not lying when people were doing the marathon of Bob Ross. That was real.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Yeah. So thank you so much, Super Pixel Girl. Guys, if you're listening to this right now on YouTube, make sure you guys leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about the entire discussion that we just had about women in gaming, or any of the other subjects we touched on in relation to it. Don't forget, obviously, to leave a like on this video, on this episode, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for all my videos related to stuff like this. New reviews every single week, new vlogs every single week. There's a lot of content here on the YouTube channel that I'm pretty sure you guys are definitely going to enjoy. And make sure you guys in the comments give me some recommendations of different guests you guys want to see on the show and different topics you guys want to see us talk about. Again, I'm open to all types of stuff, but I got to know who I got to reach out to. So let me know down in the comments below. With that being said, guys, we will talk to you again very soon. Peace out and stay epic.
Peace out.